All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Friday. Happy Friday to everyone out there. Friday, May 31st. We got a full MLB slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, we're going to go through each and every one of these games. I'll give you my lean on the side. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye on the pinned comment of this video. That is where all of my final plays, if you do want to go ahead and fade me and do the opposite, all of my final plays that I'm actually rolling with myself will be in the pinned comment. Yesterday, a damn fadeable night. In fact, you know what? I'm dropping a womp womp for myself because that could have easily been an 0-3 night. I can't even brag or get excited about that Royals first five money line because I thought Brady Singer was pitching. In fact, he was listed to pitch. It's not like I just made that up. But a little bit before game time, he was scratched, and I'm sitting there like, we just isolated Brady Singer versus Chris Paddock, and then Brady Singer gets scratched, and I was stuck with this play, and I didn't check the box that said starting pitcher must start or whatever it is. So luckily, it cashed, but I can't even take credit for that one. Really, really bad night last night. Luckily, it was, 1 half unit loss, and we're still doing okay, but I just wanted to be honest and transparent that even our one win, though, was a plus 136 play. I don't even think that I can brag about. So we drop womp womp for ourselves there. In terms of our ride of the day, though, let's pump in some damn crowd noise for Mark here. Kevin Pillar over 1.5 hits, runs in RBIs for plus money. Cha-ching. That cashes for us yesterday. At least somebody cashed, right? Shout out to Mark, an OG of the channel, a channel member. He's got the logo next to his name. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it's really simple. All you have to use is hashtag ride of the day or ROTD in the comments. And I jump on board with one person's pick each day and give you a shout out like Mark got here in the next video, win or loss. And what we started doing a couple months back is if you win, we continue to ride with your plays. So yeah, go ahead and get those hashtag ride of the days in, but we're riding with Mark today if he gets one in, on time, which I expect Mark to do. But as always, I'm looking at who's on fire, who's heating up. So make sure to get those hashtag ride of the days. It helps a lot of other people out in the comments as well, finding plays and whatnot there. But yeah, shout out to Mark. Let's go ahead and dive into this slate, guys. Before we do that, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you're feeling the good vibes on this Friday, last day of May, hit that like button. Let's jump into it. We got the Cubs taking on the Reds here. This is one that, I almost tried to make and create a path to get to the Reds just because I didn't like the price tag of nearly minus 150 for the Cubs, who have lost 8 of their last 10 games. But I couldn't necessarily get there. So I am leaning towards the Cubs here in this spot. But that minus 148 is a little bit too pricey. You can get it at minus 145 over on ESPN, but nonetheless, still pretty priced. The one thing I'll say is I think Javier Assad's going to have a decent day here. 2.17 ERA on the season. He has struggled some degree at home, but overall he's going up against Graham Ashcraft, who hasn't really been pitching tremendously here, and he's going to throw a lot of cutters. That's Graham Ashcraft's number one pitch. Chicago, 8th best teams in terms of runs above average per 100 cutters seen, so I do think that they'll be able to get to him a little bit today. A little bit. I also like the under in this game. I'm predicting like a 4-2 or a 5-2 or a 4-3 type of a game in this spot. Not because I think both pitchers go out there and pitch a gem, but I don't necessarily believe in either one of these offenses, even though the Cubs scored, 6 and 5 runs recently. Like, you have to imagine they come back down to earth. So I like the Cubs in the under in this spot. But from a player prop perspective, I don't mind taking a peek here at Javier Carne Asada, under 4.5 hits allowed, or even taking a peek at his under 2.5 earned runs. The first time he even let that up this season was last game against St. Louis, but the hits allowed, he's only gone over that 2 times, so I like this spot. He's definitely got damn close, but overall, Cincinnati against right-handed pitchers, you can see a lot of batting averages jump into the Reds, and the K percentages go as well. So I'm not going to sit here and say I think Carne Asada is going to throw and have a bunch of strikeouts. I don't hate that. It is the Reds, but I think I might lean more towards his hits allowed and his earned runs, taking an under there. And that may be the way that we can kind of bet the Cubs without having to pay that price, right? Like taking his under and hits allowed is a decent price tag right now. In terms of what we'd be looking at there, that's going to be plus 106. So could be a spot in which we kind of bet that he has a decent game, and it's almost like taking Cubs first 5. And by the way, guys, might as well shout it out now, right? This app that I'm using, it's on the desktop. It's also on your phone. It's called Outlier. I have a link in the pinned comment. 7 days free. This is literally the best sports betting research tool out there. They have a prop screen, which is every single prop offered. You can dig in and kind of see what's going on here. I have it filtered to that specific game, and you can look at, last 5, last 10, last 20 head to head. This year, last year, you can even go through and look at batter to hitter matchup. Super, super cool tool, guys. I have a link in the pinned comment. Again, 7 days free. And if you're like, oh, but what's the catch? Well, it's $19.99 afterwards. That's pretty damn cheap compared to all the other research tools out there. Go check it out. Outlier, link in the pinned comment. No code necessary. Just use that link. But let's move on to game number 2. All right, Philadelphia taking on St. Louis. You have 2 bats right now that in the last 30 days are batting righties really well. Both pitchers being righties, Miles Mikolas on the mound for St. Louis. Going up against Aaron Nola, who has looked pretty good. He's a little bit better so far on the road than he is at home, but still 1.2 whip at home, 4.17 FIP, which isn't all that great, but an expected FIP of 3.37 and a batting average against of 241 compared to the batting average against of Mikolas here at 291. So I think that explains why Philadelphia is so heavily favored in this spot, and I don't mind leaning their direction. I don't love them on the run line because the St. Louis Cardinals team, their bats have been pretty damn good, and as when in their last 10 games, if they were to be plus 1.5 underdogs, they would have covered that in 8 of their last 10, so obviously a team that kind of is staying in games. I could be convinced of the first 5 run line, though. Aaron Nola, Mikolas, let Nola go out there and deal, but you know what, overall, I think that this could be a spot in which, because of the Cardinals' offense, we may just say, hey, we like the Phillies. We monitor the game, kind of get a sense of what's to come, but we don't necessarily jump all the way in because, like I said, this Cardinals' offense has been pretty legit as of late. Last 2 games, 7 runs, 5 runs, and it's almost like an anomaly was the 1-run game against Cincinnati. Prior to that, 7, 5, 6, 3, 7. Like, they were scoring a lot of runs, so I'll lean towards Philly, but I'm giving the Cardinals a little bit of credit here, obviously, in terms of what we got. Now, from a total perspective, this is an interesting line to me because I originally saw this and I was like, oh my God, like that's a trap line. Like clearly the books want you to pull the trigger on the over. Let's go under, right? But now I'm seeing a lot of 8.5s out there. So I'm kind of second guessing. You can get over 8.5 for plus money. There may be value there. So I don't think I'm helping you guys out with this one, but I originally was like, hey, that seems like a trap line. Let's lean under, right? But now I'm seeing plus money for over 8.5, 2 offenses that should be pretty good, 2 bullpens that are mediocre at best, I think I lean over. I'm flipping on it. Like I originally was coming in just because I thought the price was fishy at the under, but now I'm seeing a plus money on the 8.5. I don't see why this couldn't be like a 6-4 game, even double digits. So hell, I'll lean towards the over. Now a player prop that I'm liking here in this spot, I'm gonna take a peek at Mason Wynn under 0.5 strikeouts. You can see you can get that for plus 130 over on BetMGM. He has hit the under in just 51% of games this year, right? But he's only struck out once in his last 10 games. And what I like here, he's going up against Aaron Nola, who's obviously a decent strikeout pitcher. But Wynn, this season, batting incredible against right-handed pitchers. Batting average up to 330, K percentage 14. His walk rate stays the same as well. My one sort of issue here is he's going to see a lot of curveballs. Aaron Nola's got the curveball down, right? And that's going to be a tough pitch. But any other pitch that he throws, I'm not all that worried about it. So this curve could get us in trouble. In fact, if we see the heat map here, you can see Nola likes to throw the curve. But look at the one spot that Wynn actually hits pretty well against the curve is down and away, which is what Nola likes to target. So I'm leaning Wynn here under 0.5 strikeouts, aka he just can't strike out for plus 130 odds from a player prop perspective. All right, I don't think we have confirmed starters for this game yet, but we got Baltimore taking on Tampa Bay. Right now, I see Albert Suarez and a potential Aaron Savale here. This Baltimore team is they're coming off of a decent series against the Sox. Their one bad game, which was, Grayson Rodriguez and Brian Bayo, and they end up losing 8-3. But other than that, an 11-3 win, and then a 6-1 win on Wednesday. They've won 6 of their last 10 games, and hell, they've won 6 of their last 7 games, honestly. So I do think I lean towards Baltimore. We're going to want to keep an eye on the pitcher. I don't know if I really want to go and totally trust Suarez overall, but nonetheless, like from what we've seen, he's looked good. And Savali is a pitcher that I really like, right? I talk about it all the time. But he just hasn't really had it all put together. So I do kind of come into this with a little bit of hesitation, just due to the fact that I like Savali, and at any given moment, he probably could pitch well. But I'll lean Baltimore, trusting the bats here in this spot. Tampa Bay did take 2 against Oakland, but it was Oakland. So Baltimore on the money line here. In terms of the total, I'm going to lean towards the over. I think this one can get to 9 runs if either one of the teams kind of has a decent outing. You know what I mean? So I think that this could be a 5-run game from Baltimore, meaning at minimum, hopefully the Rays can kind of follow suit and push the tempo here. And no major player props. I want to see these pitchers confirmed before we look into their lines or even batters' lines. All right, Toronto taking on Pittsburgh. Jose Barrios on the mound for Toronto, who's been really good at home. On the season, you got a 2.94 ERA, but at home, a .94 whip, a FIP of 3.4, xFIP of 3.6, but a batting average against, which I really like to see here, 204. So that's really good stuff. Going up against Bailey Faulkner, who, to me, I don't want to put too much trust into him or anything like that. And overall, I do think that there's a strong pitching advantage for Toronto. The one thing that I will say, but it's going to work both ways. So Toronto, barely any lefties in the lineup, if any, today. Faulkner's better against lefties than he is righties. But it's kind of the same thing for Barrios. So even though neither one of these offenses is striking me as massive powerhouse or anything like that, I think I'm going to lean towards the over as well as Toronto on the money line, just given the fact that maybe we see a couple meatball-esque type plays from both these teams. Because again, Barrios loves throwing against righties, not necessarily lefties. Well, there should be about, I think, 5+ righties in the lineup and maybe a switcher. So I think it should be like a 6-3 or a 5-4 split there. But the Pittsburgh side of things, like this is not a very lefty dominant lineup. In fact, we have one lefty in the lineup. Yeah, so it's 8-1, one lefty in the lineup for Toronto. Toronto should score some runs. So I'm going to lean over and Toronto money line, but it may just be sort of combining those two plays and saying, give me Toronto's team total, which in terms of what you can get that at right now, and you get what I mean, that would kind of be like just backing Toronto to win the game, but saying, hey, just score a bunch of runs. So over 4.5 is +102. Over 3.5 is -160 on ESPN Bet. Both of those I kind of like. I could see myself splitting a unit. Even though -160 is kind of juicy, it gives us a safety net, and then that other half unit on for them to go 5+, and then they'd end up with plus money. So keep an eye on the pinned comment. Definitely potential there for some sort of a final play. When it comes to player props, nothing that I'm loving all that much. Like I want to back Jose Barrios to some degree, but like I said, I don't think that he has the splits as much as I'd like. So I would consider his under earned runs and his over and outs. But to me, it's like I said, if he just gets in a groove, or the Pirates get in a groove of hitting him well, I think he could struggle. And I lean towards the over overall. So I'd much rather just say, hey, you know what? Give me Toronto runs, your team total, and let's call it a day type of thing. So strongest chance of being a final play, Toronto team total. All right, Sox taking on the Tigers. I am going to this game, by the way, so if you're in Fenway, hit me up on Instagram or something like that. I'd love to see you. But, yeah, this is a tough one because obviously I think the Red Sox have the edge here. Tanner Houck on the mound, who has just been pitching lights out this season. Going up against Kenta Maeda, who has not been pitching lights out this year. But even if we jump into the dashboard, by the way, channel members get this thing every single day, $2.99 a month. Link in the description, as well as a join button next to the subscribe button somewhere on the YouTube app, whether you're on the computer or on your phone. But anyways, you can see here, pitching advantage, right? Bullpen advantage. But then down here, there's clearly a batting advantage for Detroit. So to take the Red Sox and look at them at a price tag of, let's see the slate here, at a price tag of -170, I just can't get behind that. So I do lean Red Sox, but I'm going to struggle to get to the window with that one, even though I am going to the game, because, again, that is just such, obviously, a strong price tag to lay there. So do I like it? Yes. Is it something that we end up rolling with? Unfortunately, probably not. I can't get to Detroit, though, with Maeda on the mound. In terms of the total, 8.5, I originally looked at this one and said, hey, I like the over, but that Red Sox offense kind of scares me, and I think Tanner Houck's going to pitch pretty well against I forgot who they were playing, the Tigers offense, right? So I ultimately end up leaning towards the under here, but I think it finishes like pretty damn close to it. So I hate to be on the fence with both plays, but you know what? I don't fake confidence for content, right? I'm kind of on the fence leaning Red Sox and kind of on the fence leaning towards the under, backing Tanner Houck. Maybe it's a team total for the Tigers under 2.5 for the first 5, something like that, which is kind of an end around way of getting to what we're trying to say. Cleveland taking on Washington. This is honestly not a game that is that much has much of my attention here. Tanner Bybee going up against Patrick Corbin. Patrick Corbin, might as well call him Patrick Fatum because he has not been a reliable guy overall for this team. So I'm kind of going to be in that boat. Cleveland is just too juiced to roll with, but similar to what I just talked about with the Red Sox, like I'm having a really hard time getting to Washington even at that price. Like, so Cleveland's priced out in my opinion, right? But that doesn't mean that I find value in taking the underdog in Washington, even if you're getting nearly plus 200 odds. So Cleveland, but you'd have to throw them in some sort of a money line parlay. They are plus money on the run line, so that kind of tickles my fancy a little bit, but it's just plus 100. It's not like a crazy plus money. In terms of the total here in this spot, I think I'm going to lean towards the under. Again, I think Tanner Bybee pitches well. I think this is going to be like a one-sided affair. So give me the Guardians, maybe like a 4-2 type of game, 4-1 type of game, staying way under. But I told you guys already, and I was honest about it. This is not a spot in which I'm sitting here being like, I'm loving this spot. But I do know they have, I think, wind blowing into home plate, and that should negate some Cleveland power, right? So for what it's worth, I like the under. That's probably the only thing that I would actually touch in this game because I just feel a little priced out on the other side. All right, Mets taking on the Snakes here. So obviously I had Diamondbacks money line, and they almost won last night. I wish that sportsbooks would void like these DFS apps do because Zach Gallen gets injured and leaves the game after one batter. So that's why I don't feel terrible about that loss. It's like, if you watch back yesterday's video, I almost solely bet on Zach Gallen to have a good night, and then he goes and gets injured. So I don't feel too demoralized about that loss, but it was tough to see late in the game. I think it was 8th inning, maybe 8th and 9th. They go up and take the Mets go up and take the lead, which is unfortunate. Luis Severino on the mound for the Mets today, going up against Jordan Montgomery. Jordan Montgomery really has been killing it against lefties, but this is a Mets lineup that has a lot of righties in it. But the Mets lineup they don't hit lefties all that well. So I look at this and my immediate thought was low scoring game. It's a 7 total, so that makes it a little harder to pull the trigger on something like that, you know what I mean? But I still think that I do that. I still think I like the under, and I might look at the under in the first 5. In fact, I don't have a line for that yet. Let's see if we can pull that up really quickly. Let's see, under first 5, because I think that could be a spot, but I think it's under 3.5 in the first 5 for plus 108. Under 4, there could be a spot here. Under 4.5 in the first 5 is minus 160. That's as juiced as it'll get. Under 4 is minus 125, and we're using Outlier to find these, right? All we do is head in here. We go to match details. You can go to innings, 5 innings, and then total under or over under. And look at this. So under 3, we might be able to find something here with a total of this game under in the first 5 innings, because again, neither one of these offenses strikes me as like a powerhouse. And the one concern I have is Jordan Montgomery doesn't pitch well against lefties. Well, that's a little bit less of a split than I see the Mets not being able to bat lefties altogether, right? So I do think that there could be an under here in this spot. Neither one of these offenses strikes me as a powerhouse, and we just saw a 3-2 game last night. So under, and if I had to, I guess I haven't really given a money line lean here. I'll take the Diamondbacks again, but you know what? I'm much more likely to pull the trigger on those under that we looked at. All right. I'm smelling a little bit of a trap here. We have Miami taking on Texas. Texas is only minus 120. Miami is obviously almost even odds, right? And this is interesting to me. You have Sixto Sanchez on the mound for Miami. I think that he should be called Stinko Sanchez because he's bad. Jose Arena is not very good, but I would take him over Sanchez. And you have a Texas lineup that, you know, I would say is their offense maybe starting to come together. The last 3 games, they won 6-4, 6 runs scored. Miami won last game 9-1 against San Diego, but prior to that, they were struggling to get to 3 runs in the prior 6 games. So this is a trap line or a trappy line. I might walk right into the bear trap and see what the pot of honey tastes like because I like Texas here, minus 120. I know they're on the road. I totally understand it, but this seems like it should be a spot for them to be able to play pretty damn well. So I'll lean towards Texas. In terms of the over, in terms of the total, I do lean slightly towards the over just because I believe both these pitchers can get hit up. I just think the Texas Rangers are more likely to hit up Stinko Sanchez than, the Marlins are to hit up Jose Urethra. You know what I mean? So we'll see. All right, real quick, before we dive into the rest of the games, I do want to talk to you guys about Daily Grind Fantasy. There'll be a link in the pinned comment, guys. You can go sign up over there and use code GUYBOSTON. You need to use the code GUYBOSTON. Spelling Bee Champ. Use that code, you get 25% off. But what this is pretty much for Prize Picks, Underdog, Sleeper, all those great apps out there, right? What this app does is analyzes all of the selections available on Prize Picks and looks at what the most popular sports books are pricing them at in terms of odds, and even identifying any odds discrepancies or line discrepancies. For example, Tanner Houck Under 6 is what they recommend to play on Prize Picks because sportsbooks have this at 5.5. Down here, Eric Fedde, over 4.5 strikeouts. Well, sportsbooks are juicing the over there, so why wouldn't you throw that into a Prize Pick slip, an app that does not care about odds, right? So you'd rather have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, minus 130 and beyond plays in there versus a plus 110, a plus 120, because sportsbooks are already saying that those minus odds are more likely to hit. So this is an amazing tool. My Prize Picks bankroll literally went boom the minute I started using this app, and then over a year ago, year and a half ago, they reached out to me and were like, hey, what are we doing here? Let's get on board and work together. And I'm so glad they did. Shout out to the guys at Daily Grind Fantasy. Again, use the link in the pinned comment, but you have to use Guy Boston as the code GUYBOSTON to get 25% off. Highly, highly recommend this tool. It's not just for baseball, but it's such a good validator too. Say you like, any sort of Devers lines, you can go in here and just type Devers and look at where the true value is. Okay, well, they're liking slightly 52.14% chance to hit this total bases under, that type of thing, right? So it's really, really cool tool, guys. Go check it out. That link is in the pinned comment. Promo code Guy Boston. Now we got a few more games to jump into. Let's go. Atlanta taking on Oakland. I think someone's lying if they say that they're interested in this game or this series here. It doesn't really have the juice if you ask me. But nonetheless, we have Ronaldo Lopez on the mound, who I think he was supposed to pitch yesterday, and then they went with the young lefty, whatever. Overall, I think this is a spot for Atlanta. But again, similar to how we talked about maybe the Guardians and even the Sox, minus 225, a little bit too much juice. But this is an Atlanta team that lost 3 of 4 against Washington. You know what I mean? So they should have some fire under their ass. Oakland lost 3 of their last 4 games, 2 of 3 against Tampa Bay. But I don't think that they're the type of team that's like getting rallied up and saying, hey, you know what, let's screw it. Let's go shock the world. No. So give me Atlanta, but it'd have to be in some sort of a parlay. In terms of a total here, something I could see myself rolling with is an under. This is an Atlanta team that I expect to win, but their bats have not been on fire. They are going up against JP Sears, who, I think that they have a decent chance of hitting around, but I think this could be like a 5-3 game, and that's keeping it under the number. So give me the under ever so slightly here, but I definitely could see myself pulling the trigger there. I don't think that this is, I guess I could say like a prime spot to play, and we got wind blowing directly in from center field. So yeah, could be a spot here. I think that we have, according to Ballpark Pal, like the pressure of the air is also pretty bad for carrying baseballs. So yeah, I don't think any big 3-run shots or anything like that are coming today. All right, Royals taking on San Diego. Again, Royals the only play that actually ends up cashing for us yesterday. On the mound today for them should be Michael Wacha going up against Dylan Cease. Wacha's been pretty good over his last 4 starts. 2 earned runs, 1 earned run, and 2 earned run. Dylan Cease, not necessarily so much. He does have a 7-inning shutout performance against the Cubs that kind of swings his earned run average in the last 5 down. But his last 3 starts, 4, 5, and 3. So don't love to see that. But overall, he's been good. Like I don't want to shit. I like Dylan Cease. I say that all the time. So I do think he could have some success here against Kansas City, but I think I might just take a peek at the over, even with 2 decent pitchers on the mound. Like if we look at the dashboard here, a lot of green in the batting department, right? And you see Dylan Cease fastball, slider, like these are pitches that Kansas City should, in theory, hit fairly well, And kind of the same thing over here for San Diego. He's going to throw a lot of changeups. Wacha, well, that's the one pitch they hit well. So I think I'm going to lean towards the over here in this spot. But if I had a gun to my head and had to pull trigger on a money line, I'm going to trust Cease because he's been letting up a decent amount of runs, but I think that this could be a spot in which he kind of pitches well. Last time he pitched against Kansas City, 5 1/3, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts, just under 20 pitches per inning. That was last season. Maybe he does something a little similar there today, and that was with the White Sox, so he's got a better team behind him now. Speaking of the devil, we got Milwaukee taking on the White Sox here. On the mound for Milwaukee today is going to be Tobias Myers going up against Eric Fedde. Fedde has been pitching well, but not on the road. And I guess I'm overstating saying he's been pitching well. He has some good starts, has some bad starts, but his good starts are coming on at home for the most part. And, a guy that's been pitching this good for, 2 or 3 starts, at some point I feel like he must come back down to earth. But he did go up against Cleveland, decent offense. Did go up against Baltimore, decent offense. Washington, I'm not going to say is a decent offense necessarily, but shut them out through 7 innings, 6 strikeouts, 14 pitches per inning. So Fedde's been pitching really, really well. But this Milwaukee offense, just getting on base and everything like that, scares me a little bit. They scored 10 and 6 runs in their last 2 games. So I'll lean Milwaukee here in this spot. But I also don't mind taking a peek at the under due to the fact that I think that both these pitchers can kind of hold their own, which is, I'm not going to say it's crazy to say about Fedde, but I could see a 4-3, maybe a total of 7 in this game here. I think that, Fedde is a little bit underrated, not enough that I'm sitting there being like, I think he's going to go out there and shut down and all that type of stuff. Not really. But I see this being like a 7-run game. And I've also seen some 7.5s out there. So if you can get this at 8, then what's the harm, right? Like, I think that Fedde is the outlier here, and I think that he's going to be okay. So why not roll with it, In terms of a player prop I like, I'm actually looking at Willy Adames here over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. He's done that in 4 straight games. In fact, let's just jump into outlier and break it down. For -110 odds, I like that spot. He's been doing it crazy. In his last 5 games here, averaging 4 hits, runs, and RBIs. The matchup I like as well. His batting average against righties jumps 10 points. So does his WRC+. He's going to get sinker, cutter, slider, sinker. His WOBA, weighted on base average, jumps. Cutter, WOBA, jumps. Slider, jumps. Like, this should be a good spot for Willy Adames, over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. You want to go just for 1 hit. You're paying a hell of a lot of juice, but I don't mind that either. He's averaging just under 2 hits per game in his last 5. So Adames, some way, shape, or form, I like his spot. All right, guys, if you made it this far into the video, go ahead and comment 25. You made it past the 25-minute mark, which I can't thank you guys enough. After a bad night, it's hard to get on here in front of a camera to thousands of people and be like, we sucked last night. But I hope the ones that rock with me and stick with me know that, we keep it honest, and we have a brand called Fade Me. Like, we're not afraid to lose and make fun of ourselves, or even our 1 win last night. I say I can't even take credit for, you know what I mean? Like, how many people are out here doing that? But it's all about having a good time and enjoying life, and betting allows you to enjoy a sports game more and have more, dog in the fight type of thing. So hopefully you guys do have that similar vibe as me, because you're going to lose, you're going to win. We just want to be long-term better off from a monetary standpoint. But nonetheless, comment 25 if you've made it to this point. And it's not just about the number. Like, when you guys comment 25, it lets me know that you just kind of heard what I thought was something that I really wanted to say and get through, you know what I mean? So appreciate that. Appreciate everybody. But let's jump into this game here. We got Houston taking on Minnesota here. Pablo Lopez on the mound for Minnesota, which you probably immediately think, oh, advantage Minnesota, right? But Ronel Blanco on the mound for Houston, who has been pitching phenomenally at home. Now, can you make the argument that, well, no kidding, he had his first 2 starts in the season, he was absolutely like locked in, right? Which is definitely true. So I guess you could say, well, those are going to skew his numbers. But nonetheless, the dude's been pretty good. 1.6 ERA over his last 5 starts here, whereas Pablo Lopez has gotten shelled around 2 starts in a row. So this isn't an easy sort of come in and back the Twins. I do think I'm going to trust Houston's offense here. The one thing that I don't like about this spot is that they played yesterday and won 4-0. Is that sort of like a tough, they go from, they were in Seattle, right, to Houston to play again. So not necessarily loving that. Minnesota goes from Minnesota to Houston. The travel may kind of, put a damper on them, but I think you're getting a decent price tag. You're pretty much a pick 'em, trusting a guy that should be able to compete with Pablo Lopez pitching wise, and then an offense that may be starting to heat up here. So I'll lean towards Houston, but let's be honest, Pablo Lopez always going to be in the back of your head if you're betting against him. So could be something that we stick away from literally just on that, on those grounds alone. In terms of the total here, I'm probably going to do the square thing. I'll lean towards the under. Trust these pitchers. I think that they're both very good. We do have no weather, obviously, with the dome and whatnot, but I think that both these pitchers can go out there and hopefully pitch good. So maybe it's a first 5 under or something like that. All right, Seattle taking on the Angels here. Brian Woo on the mound for Seattle. He's been good since coming back and starting, right? On the season, he's got a 1.66 ERA, a whip of 0.6, a FIP of 2.66. That FIP drops at home to 2.09. So I'll give Brian Woo a little bit of credit here, even though I feel like we've been kind of like in and out of him. Pause. Damn, that's a tough one to say out loud. Even though we've been on and off of, that doesn't even sound great either. Even though I've liked him and disliked him at different times over the last 2 seasons. I don't even know what I was going to say now. I feel like he's kind of, proved us right and wrong. So he's a little bit inconsistent in my opinion, just from the sample size we have, right? But coming back this season, he's been pitching fairly well. So I'll trust him today. Give me Seattle on the money line. I mean, I got to roll with the money line if I'm going in and not even going to say it. Give me Seattle on the money line. In terms of the total, Jose Soriano's on the other side here. He's actually pitched fairly well at home, but do I really look at these 2 pitchers and say they're going to suppress the offense? crazily enough, yeah, I think I do. The Seattle offense isn't all that great, and the Angels, I think that they're better at batting lefties than they are righties. So I'm gonna lean towards the under, even though it's at 7.5 there. In terms of odds, I think you can get a pretty good price. I wish I was thinking the over is plus money, so it's even juiced towards the under. So I think we're on the right side of that, but I wish we were getting plus money, you know. All right, Dodgers taking on the Rockies here. I feel like the Dodgers, like we were able to cash them. What was it? 2 games ago on Wednesday, right? When they played the Mets, because we got such a good price. But look at this, like Dakota Hudson, that dude is literally 2 pitches away from, he might even get fired from Burger King and go work at, Wendy's or something, which maybe that's an upgrade in some people's mind. But Walker Buehler on the mound for the Dodgers. Not like he's been lights out, but he's been, and we can even show you in the dashboard, he's been lights out at home in his, the sample size we have from him this year. So I think this is a Dodgers spot, but maybe this is, screw it, Dodgers, Braves, parlay, that type of thing. Let's see what we can get for that. So Dodgers, Braves, parlay. If you were to throw this in together, you're looking at, minus 105 over on ESPN, minus 107 on Caesar. So you can get nearly even odds taking those 2 giants. So maybe that's the spot here. In terms of the total, I honestly do want to look at this and say it's going to go over, but for whatever reason, like I don't think that this is like it just seems, I would expect this, what I should say. I would expect this to be right around 9.5, based on, we know we have a meatball thrower in Dakota Hudson, and honestly, Walker Buehler isn't like incredible, and you have the Dodgers who are a power offense. So I sit there and I'm like, seems a little trappy. So I'm actually going to lean towards the under. I'll sound the cycle alert alarm. I think it's kind of crazy to lean under, but that's what I'm going to do. All right, San Francisco taking on the Yanks. Here we have Hicks on the mound for San Francisco. They've won 7 of their last 10. Yankees won 6 of their last 10. Finally looked like their offense fell back into groove yesterday, scoring 8 runs. Stroman has looked better than I think his numbers would indicate, to some degree, okay? His last 3, actually, no, his ERA in his last 5 is 1.2, right? Which ERA isn't all that telling, but overall, like, he's had some rough starts on the year, but I do think that he's been pitching better than his numbers would indicate, is kind of my greater point here. His last time he pitched against San Francisco, he was on the Cubs, but, 2 earned runs through 6 2/3, 13 pitches per inning, pretty good. Jordan Hicks has also been pitching really well in the last couple games, but he went up against Colorado and the Mets, who isn't an offense that I really love, but he pitched okay against the Dodgers. 5 innings pitched, did let up a home run, 2 earned runs, 4 Ks. So I don't want to necessarily fade Jordan Hicks. I think that they have a good comparable pitcher here, but this offense for the Yankees seems like it should be the move, as well as the bullpen. So I'm going to lean Yankees in this spot. For odds right now, I feel like they're kind of overpriced at minus 135 when you have a San Francisco team that you take away that loss against the Phillies. They've been playing really, really good baseball, right? Like, people forget that 6-1 loss wasn't, throw that out just for a second. And they were one of the better offenses, but Stroman should be able to deal here. He's going to throw a lot of sinkers. That's a pitch that San Francisco does not hit very well. You can see it right here. A lot of sinkers. Same thing on the other side for Hicks, but look at the Yankees. They hit sinkers really, really well. He's going to throw a lot of splitters and sliders, which are 2 pitches that they do not hit very well. But, if you're going to give me a lot of sinkers and you're telling me the Yankees, this offense right here, hits those fairly well, I can't look past it. So I'll lean Yankees in this spot. I'll also, as much as it kind of pains me to say, I'm going to lean Yankees team total over, but I don't necessarily love the full game over. I think that Stroman has some sort of a day. So I'll lean Yankees team total over. And I say as much as it pains me because I'm a Red Sox fan. So kind of tough to be there saying, look at this team. They're good. Their offense is so good. As a Red Sox fan, as a Yankees, lifelong type of hater, kind of sucks. But nonetheless, guys, that is going to wrap for today's show. Hope you guys did enjoy. Appreciate everyone tuning in. If you did like this video, like the video, hit that subscribe button if you're new. We'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.